took. See my kicks when I see y'all walk. Flex on me, y'all ain't strong. Say my name, that's Sam Look. Still on top, yeah, it's been that long. They won't know till I say I'm gone. They won't know, say my name. Hey everyone, welcome to the That Sam Law Show. Before we get started today, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Bell Law Group. If you need help with anything in regards to labor or employment as well as personal injury, hit them up. Today we have a very special guest, a huge influencer in the media here in New York, especially for politics. Her name is Skye Ostreicher of Political Personalities. Skye, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Sam, for having me.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for showing up and coming out here. I know you got to come a little distance, but we're excited to have you. And thanks for these earrings. Yeah, I love them.
They look great on you.
Thank you. Look, she got me earrings, so we match. We're doing twinsies right now. So, Skye, tell my audience about who you are.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm Skye Ostreicher. I grew up on Long Island, and I have the show Political Personalities with Skye because the whole world is becoming so hyper-polarized in politics, and I think it's important that we get to know who our elected leaders are outside of politics. And I came into the industry as a lobbyist. I worked for 8 years at 2 different lobbying firms, learning about how the game works. And then I ran the Mike Bloomberg presidential campaign for Long Island. I was in charge of Long Island, and Mike Bloomberg dropped out of the race, and a week later was the pandemic, so all of a sudden I was unemployed and locked inside. So I went through my phone of all my elected official contacts, and I did Instagram video interviews with them about what's going on, what's happening in your office with your staff, what are you responsible for during this? And it sort of escalated into what it is today. I did 450 Zoom interviews during the pandemic, and then working with city and state. This is my microphone prop. I run around and I do live interviews, and I've been working with city and state where I have that brand, Political Personalities with Skye.
Awesome. Well, listen, if you don't have your microphone prop while you're out and about and media is something you do, you got the game all wrong. I was actually at an event last night where we did it was called Girl Talk. It was sponsored by Spin the Yard, Wyandanch-based nonprofit organization, and the Urban Arm Wrestling League. And when I came there, I had the mic. And as a matter of fact, there were like people running for office. It was like a all-women's panel from women from different different forms of business. So we had Wendy Rodriguez. She's running for New York State Senate in my area, which I think is, I know it's congressional district too. I'm not sure which state assembly district it is. But we also had the assistant ADA there. And like, I was just like, listen, I'm going to make sure I bring my mic flag. So every picture or anything is in my hand.
Right, exactly. It's a great prop.
We also had someone from Newsday there that was on the panel, Denise Bonilla. So it was like, every time the pictures are taken, they're holding the mic flag. So you got to do it. You got to do it smart. Yeah. So how did you go from like, I know you kind of touched on it a little bit and you said you were out and about and you were running campaigns, but how did you kind of like decide that journalism was going to be the thing you're going to go with? Because it's been a couple of years since 2019.
Right, I know. So now we're living in a time where everyone's a journalist.
That's true.
Everyone's reporting on their own. They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram Reels, they're making content, they're self-reporting. So can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
So especially when that political rhetoric, everyone thinks of Republicans versus Democrats, but the younger generation, our generation, that doesn't resonate with us. We really want transparency. We want leaders that look like us, that come from the same background as us. And in order to figure that out, it's sitting and having a conversation with them and learning about what they did before they were elected.
That's true. I like that you're opening the door to get to know them. I think that's important. Because I feel like, you have these people they're in office and they're doing what they're doing, but you're like, who are they? Like, I keep voting the same person in over and over again, but I don't know them. And I watched one of your interviews with Susan Berlin. She's over the town of Dix Hills? Huntington, right?
Yeah.
And I like that you went to her house and like you sat with her, you talked with her. Like, you go and you show a little bit, you show a different side of politicians.
A different side of them. I know. There's a senator in Queens, John Liu,
Right.
and he has a propeller plane at Republic Airport in Islip,
Wow.
and he's a pilot, and he trains
Wow.
with the Civil Air Academy. He teaches kids for free how to fly planes, so
Nice.
he took me up in his plane. But that's
See,
something
that's
that would
cool.
never come up when he's typically being interviewed.
Right. It's real buttoned up, especially out here in New York. I feel like because it's such a big stage, everyone kind of, I mean, for lack of a better term, everyone's politically correct.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see that other side.
Yes.
Did you always have a love for politics?
Actually, I didn't. I went to college and I studied medicine. I went to University of Miami. I got a full scholarship to go to medical school. And it's the people you meet along the way that influence your life, right?
Yeah.
So the woman who was president of University of Miami at the time was this woman, Donna Shalala, and she served as President Clinton's Secretary of Health and Human Services when he was president. And in class, she brought him in as a guest speaker. And the two of them together told the story of the night that Donna was his designated survivor when he gave his State of the Union address.
Wow.
And it was that moment that I was like, wow, I'm not going to go to medical school. I'm going to work in policy. And then I did my master's in public health, and it turned into a second master's in public policy. And from there, I got swooped up on a political campaign, and the rest is the political history.
See, that's cool. It's really interesting. Sometimes your plan A is not the plan that you go with.
Right.
It's the plan B. And it's a lot of times the better option.
Right.
Pun intended. So what made you choose short form content? I noticed a lot of your interviews on YouTube are about, they're under 10 minutes.
Yeah, they're under 10 minutes. I know. It began as like under 10 minutes, then it was like 5 minutes. Now it's more like 3 minutes. But even you see the algorithm on Instagram has changed it. You can't even post a longer video on Instagram. It doesn't do as well now that
Right.
they changed to Reels. So it's about adapting in real time to what's going to make the best content. I think the attention span of people with videos now is 11 seconds, and that's it. So I got to start expanding onto TikTok next.
TikTok is fun. I'm on there. I'm still not like that into it, but I am on there. I have a couple posts on there. I try to post a show on there too, but I'm still not quite into it. I know with YouTube Shorts,
Right.
that's kind of like a whole nother beast now too.
I need to, they keep emailing me about the YouTube handle.
They have
right?
the YouTube handle, and if you're, with your channel, they're already talking about monetizing the shorts. So that's coming in I think the first or second quarter of next year.
I have to look into that.
Yeah, look it up. They're doing like a conference and everything. I don't know. I don't want to give YouTube any more props. They did not pay for this show. So, what made you go from one of the things I noticed, let me give some background, is that you used to be the fashionable Democrat, right?
Yes.
So and you were out there, you had on these amazing outfits, you're on red carpets, you're at events, sometimes just eating lunch. And I mean, the drip is crazy, right? Swagger on 100,000 trillion.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what made you go from the fashionable Democrat to political personality?
Well, people don't like the word Democrat. They don't.
That's true.
So that's what I changed it. But what I meant by the fashionable Democrat was it's fashionable to be able to talk to anyone about politics. So it was supposed to be like a double entendre with the word fashionable. Fashion because I love fashion and shopping and clothing, and Democrat, fashionable Democrat. I could talk to Republicans, I could talk to socialists, I could talk to independents. I'm the fashionable Democrat. But people don't like Democrats, so I changed it to be more neutral, the political personality.
Oh, that makes sense. Sometimes you have to pivot. Pivoting's an important part of business.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do that, you might end up kind of stuck in a situation or in a rut, and you're like, I can't get out of it. As a matter of fact, I went through that with my nonprofit organization. It did not start out as a nonprofit organization. I have a foundation called Young Hip Professionals, Inc. Initially, it started out as a private bartending company. And I did an event, and someone really wanted to just kind of skimp on the budget completely. And when you skimp on the budget, you don't get as much as you might need to run the event that you're trying to pull off. And it was kind of frustrating because I'm like, listen, you're telling me you want to have your family do this and your family do that, but your family don't work for me, so I can't tell them what to do. I can advise and say what I'd like them to do, but I can't tell them what to do. And they went online and they ripped me a new one, but your girl's smart, and realized like, hey, these comments, they're not appropriate, and I was able to actually get rid of them because they weren't like legally appropriate. But one of the things I had to do was like, I didn't want to do it anymore. And I was making bank and I did not want to do it anymore. And someone said to me, you know what, Sam, just pivot. And I said, pivot? Like, what am I supposed to do? And they were like, listen, you've been out there, you got a lot of connections. You know a lot of people in the event industry, you know a lot of people in the alcohol industry, you know, like people from all walks of life, just pivot. And what I did was I started picking people that were kind of like leaders in their fields or up and coming leaders in their fields. And we started a networking group over WhatsApp. And we started throwing events together and doing things together. And that's how we came up with Young Hip Professionals, Inc., a network to enhance your net worth. And a lot of people have soared from the ground floor. That was like in 2018. So pivoting from something where people might be like, ugh, I don't like that. I don't want to deal with that. Or I don't like what you did there. It's powerful and it can save your business.
Right.
I think that was
and
smart.
It's great to be thinking out of the box,
like
the story you just described. Because a lot of people get stuck in their own rut and get in their own way. But pivoting and being able to do that, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, it wasn't easy. I'm grateful for having the advice of another business owner where they were like, no, don't give up, don't stop, keep doing what you're doing. Because, I mean, like you said, if people don't necessarily respond well to something, or they're upset about something and you rub them the wrong way, you could lose it. And you're focused on that one that didn't like you, but there's still hundreds more, thousands more that love you and they support you. So I'm glad you didn't disappear. I'm glad I was able to find you again.
Yes.
Like, I have found you in person at an event over this summer at Ohika Castle.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was an interesting event, to say the least. But it was good to see you there.
Yeah.
And like, you're still out there, you're still doing it.
Right.
And
that's part of it too, putting yourself out there and seeing what connections you can make and
exactly.
what's gonna happen.
Exactly. So one of the things you kind of talked about is, hey everyone, it's Sam Law of the That Sam Law Show. And I just want to welcome a very special person, our sponsor, John Bell of the Bell Law Group. John Bell, tell us about the Bell Law Group.
So we're a law firm in Syosset, Long Island. And we focus on employment law and personal injury law. The reason we focus on that is basically to fight for people in need. That's the reason why I became a lawyer, and that has been the mission of the Bell Law Group since I started it 20 years ago. Started out as a law office of Jonathan Bell, but then when it became more than just me, we decided to change the name, change the logo and branding to the Bell Law Group, and we've been out there ever since.
Great. So, John Bell, if anyone needs your services, how can they reach you?
855 John Bell, JONBELL, or on our website, belllg.com.
Thank you. Making politics palatable for the younger generation.
Yeah.
How do you plan on keeping the younger generation engaged in politics?
Well, my thought going into this with political personalities was really to reintroduce our elected officials to the younger audience and do things like go in the airplane. Or there's an Assemblyman, Mike Durso, who was a garbage man for 10 years before he was elected into the state legislature. And that's actually what I'm being for Halloween. I'm being a garbage man because I have the sanitation outfit from when I went on a garbage truck with him at 4 o'clock in the morning. But to me, it's like learning the other side of our elected leaders, I think, will help younger people get engaged. And a lot of people don't realize in the New York City Council, in New York City, over the 5 boroughs, we have 51 council members. Ooh. The youngest one is 24.
Wow.
People don't realize that the youngest person elected here in New York City is 24 years old. And if people knew that, maybe they would want to know about him and what he does and how he got there, and maybe that could be me one day. People might be inspired by knowing that there are young people, there are millennials and Gen Zs in office doing great things with our tax dollars to enhance the city and the state.
That's great. That's wonderful. I like that. I like that you make it short. It's 5 minutes. I believe in like 5-minute activism. I think there's things that you can do in 5 minutes to stay engaged and keep, like, I feel like the younger generation thinks like politics is so involved, like, but it's not. You can watch a show and learn about your local politicians. Like, you can watch political personalities. You can go on change.org and sign a petition, share the petition, donate to your local grassroots agencies that are doing things out there that you believe in. And you don't always have to be like, you know, I'm blue, I'm red, I'm purple. Like, you don't have to do that, but you can still stay engaged and stay 5 minutes. And you can learn about your politicians, especially in New York, in 5 minutes on Skye's show. So how do you feel that the younger generation will influence the political landscape in the future?
I mean, right now, millennials are the largest voting bloc. And if millennials are tuned out to what's happening, we will lose democracy. People who are unengaged, even most people, when you talk to most people, maybe they're registered to vote, but they're not registered to a party.
That's true. That's true.
But you know, in primary elections, you have to be
vote,
registered
right?
to a party.
That is true.
So if everyone in the middle isn't registered to a party and there's primary elections that determine the outcome of the general election, then only the extremists are going to be elected and reelected.
That is a fact.
So we have to get more people to care.
I agree. I remember like that smacking me in the face. It was during, I'm not going to say which candidates, but, or what my party affiliation was at the time, but I wanted to vote in the primary for one candidate. And I'd never done a primary vote. I was still really young. This probably was like maybe my third time voting. And we don't do civics in school anymore. Like, we don't talk about civic engagement anymore. We don't talk about what you do when you get to the polls. Like, no one's educating you on that anymore. So I go to the polls during my first primary, and I'm like flabbergasted because I had to vote for someone I did not want to vote for. And I mean, I gave my vote to a candidate that probably wasn't, according to the news, shouldn't have still been on the ballot. So I gave it to them just to make sure that my vote didn't go towards the candidate that ended up being the one that ran for that party in the election. But like, it's kind of like, oh, snap. Like, if I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know when to register or change party affiliation, I might not get to vote in that primary and decide who actually goes up against who.
I know, and that's the problem too. It's civics in high schools, right? When we're registered to vote at 18, and I just saw that cartoon video, which I'm sure you and your listeners here saw too, how a bill becomes a law about the bill on the steps of Capitol Hill.
School of Rock. Was it the School of Rock?
It's called something like that.
Oh my God, what's the name of that show?
Government Rocks or something.
Yeah, Schoolhouse Rock.
But that's the only video, right, that we saw about politics. There really wasn't anything else.
Oh my God.
But it would be great if there were elected officials that would come visit the high schools or come visit college kids and talk about not just my opinion on the environment is this or my opinion on abortion is this, but talk about who they are, where they come from, if they're a parent, if they have pets, where they live, what their family life is like.
Humanistic approach.
Yes, it humanizes them, and I think that will engage more kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to get down to our last few questions.
Okay.
They're simple, not too crazy. But what's one interview you would love to do if you could interview like anyone in the whole wide world, they're living or not? What's one of like your dream interviews to do?
I mean, in the political realm, right, some of the biggest names are some of the most polarizing names. Trump, AOC, Governor Cuomo, even President Biden. I mean, I would love to do an interview with a president, current or former president would be fantastic.
I like that. I think that's cool. I can't lie to you. Someone had asked me once back in the day, like, who would you rather go for a beer with, Obama or George Bush Jr.? And I said George Bush Jr. I think I'm going to have a better time. He knows about baseball. He's going to enjoy the beer. I don't know. He seems like he probably, knows how to have more than one. And like, I love Obama. I think he's great, but I felt like he might be a little too. Like, if we're having a beer, I want to chill out. Right. I don't want to be like. I want to have casual, fun conversations. So I chose George W. Bush, but I think that'd be great to like interview a president.
Yeah,
and you will.
Yeah, thank you.
It's probably on your vision board, right?
I know you mentioned mental health exactly. You know what I was wondering to myself in the car the other day is where does the line get drawn between manifestation and delusion?
That's a good question.
Right?
Where does that line get drawn? You know what?
Because we're told to manifest things and bring them into reality.
Goals are supposed to be smart, which is, and now I'm going to get mental health counseling, which I don't really do on the show. It's a whole acronym. I don't know, remember it off the top, but I'll give you the gist of it. It's basically that goals should be measurable, attainable, realistic, timely, and I forgot what SMART the S stands for, but whatever. Like they should be within reach. If you look at the trajectory of where you've been from that moment in college at the University of Miami to where you are today, interviewing some of the top leaders in New York, your trajectory is on that path, you know? So your goal is smart, it's realistic, it's timely, it's attainable. And I think as long as your goals and your visions are within those things, I'm not saying don't dream big, but I think it's more likely to happen. And then the fun side of me, the imaginative side of me just believes that when you put yourself in there, you put yourself in that the path of your star, even if you just get the dust, like I'm pretty sure that's amazing too.
Right.
So what happens if you interview one of the members of a president's cabinet?
Right.
Like you're still on the path of your dream.
Totally.
So I think that's great. Now, this is the last question. Well, it's the second to last.
Okay.
If you had an unlimited budget and could wear any designer in the world to the Met Gala, who would you wear and why?
Wow. Well, I love Dolce & Gabbana.
Whoa.
I do. So that's what I would wear. But in that vein of a fashion show to the Met Gala, I have an idea that maybe will manifest as well. Next year, 2023, for Fashion Week, having a fashion show and having our elected leaders choose designers from their districts and model them in the fashion show.
Well, I know who I'd recommend from my district. It would be one of the brands that I get to model for, Culture Trees. They're an African-inspired clothing line. They actually just did a show in Paris Fashion Week. They've done New York Fashion Week. And I'm not gonna lie, the owner is my aunt, but she's amazing. She's also a professor at FIT.
So
I know who I would recommend. I think actually most of my politicians would recommend her as well because they have relationships
so
with
we
her.
gotta get her involved next
Me.
year.
Yeah,
Fashion Week
yeah.
2023.
All right, that sounds good. So Skye, what can we expect next from you and where can we find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram. I'm the political personality and working with city and state. And my vertical is political personalities with Skye. All the videos are on the website and on YouTube. And what's next is I'm going down to Puerto Rico for the Somos conference in November. And after that, it'll just be more political fun to be had after this election coming up and
Awesome.
and seeing who maybe some of the new movers and shakers are in the industry and bringing them to a general audience.
Well, awesome. I look forward to watching you. My audience looks forward to watching you. And thanks for coming to the That Sam Law Show. I just want to shout out our sponsors really quick. Thank you so much to the John Bell Law Group, the Bell Law Group. Thank you so much to Designs by Dr. G and J Moore Realty.